Today's film is set in pre-colonial New Zealand, deep in the forest, where we see a man chasing a Maori warrior. At one point it seems he might escape, but then he trips over a rope tied between two trees. The pursuer catches up and wounds his face, then challenges him to a duel. Both use a traditional Maori weapon, a heavy club, effective for close combat. Before starting, they perform a ritual, using fierce expressions like glaring eyes and sticking out their tongues to intimidate. The fight lasts only seconds, because the pursuer is a true warrior, who defeats him with ease. Two local tribes are in conflict, yet a Maori chief hopes to avoid bloodshed. The rival chief's son visits Tini, asking to enter the burial grounds of his tribe's fallen warriors. Tini assures him no one hunts or fights near the caves, because he wants the place to remain sacred. Oripa heads toward the caves, but Tini's son secretly follows him. As expected, Oripa desecrates the graves to provoke war. HNGI witnesses it and throws stones at him. Oripa grabs him and drags him to the crowd, accusing him of insulting the remains of the warriors. Tini is stunned, but vows that if his son truly did it, he would execute him himself. Oripa does not care about peace. He says he will tell his father, to spark a devastating war. In truth, Tini knows his son would never commit such disgrace. But if Oripa wants war, then war will come. HNGI tells his father he wants to become a warrior, because dying in battle is the noblest way to honor ancestors. Tini gives no direct answer. Instead, he tells of the dead land, once inhabited by a tribe. But after one night, they vanished, and no one has dared return since. That night, there were no screams. A man broke into a tent and killed HNG's sleeping friend. HNGI was thrown outside and shouted that the tribe was under attack. Oripa's people returned to wipe out Tini's tribe. Enemies flooded in and HNGI fell in the darkness, then crawled away to hide. Oripa's men slaughtered the entire tribe. Tini and a few fought back, but misjudged their strength, never expecting a night assault. Oripa finally moved in to finish Tini. Tini glared at him in fury and cursed that all the attackers would die. Oripa ignored him. He believed neither in spirits nor in afterlife. He beheaded Tini and declared they would feast tonight. HNGI escaped and passed out. Oripa orders a search for him, the sole survivor of Tini's tribe. The next day, HNGI wakes on the grass. He returns to the village and finds it burned and destroyed. The surviving women are crying. One blames him for the disaster, not realizing the tribe now depends on him, and that he must avenge his father. She doubts his ability, saying he cannot do it alone. But HNGI insists it is his duty. Before leaving, he asks her to record his story if he never returns. Meanwhile, Oripa and his men set out. He orders the shortest route, even through the dead land. Some warn that the land is cursed. Legend says a demon guards it, one that slaughtered its own tribe and kills anyone who enters. Oripa ignores the warnings, forcing everyone to follow him. They do not realize they have entered the dead land and keep the same route. Soon after, his grandmother's spirit appears, warning he cannot defeat Oripa alone. HNGI says he is not alone. He plans to seek help from the monster in the dead land. His grandmother smiles at his wisdom. He suspects the monster is actually human, of flesh and blood. HNGI ventures deeper and meets a woman. She warns him, no one leaves this land alive. But he says he is a chief and must meet the warrior, the rumored monster. The woman leads him to the warrior's cave. Just as he is eating, a hunter who trespassed. HNGI says he is tracking Oripa and his men, who entered the dead land despite the legend. The warrior tells him to tell his story. Then he will decide whether to help or make him dinner. Meanwhile, Oripa and his men rest without suspecting anything. Soon, one man spots a lizard crawling on a weapon, saying they are cursed. In Maori myth, lizards symbolize death. Another complains about the mission and being forced onto this dangerous route. Oripa only orders rest and sleep. Later, one of the women living with the warrior urges him to help HNGI. She says doing so, their ancestors might forgive his past sins. But the warrior believes no one will ever forgive him for killing his own tribe. Yet if he wants to die in peace, he has no other choice. The next morning, two of Oripa's men desert. His right-hand man believes this journey will end badly. But Oripa fears no gods or curses and keeps going. 151007. HNGI is still alive outside the warrior's cave, which means the warrior has decided to help him. The two immediately pursue those who dared trespass into the dead land. Two deserters hear the warriors roar nearby and flee, but the legendary monster quickly catches them. One tries to intimidate him with Ori facial gestures, but the warrior simply walks forward and smashes his head. The man bends down, saying those fake threats are useless. Meanwhile, HNGI chases the other. When the man realizes his pursuer is only a boy, he stops to fight and mocks HNGI for being young and weak. But HNGI is extremely agile, dodging attacks and countering to knock him down. He hesitates too long to deliver the final blow. So the warrior arrives in time and demonstrates how a true warrior kills. He strikes the enemy's head and tastes his blood. That night, the warrior prepares the enemy's flesh. He tells HNGI he fought well today, but still has much to learn. HNGI doubts himself and regrets that his father could not train him to be a warrior. He practices using the Tayaha, but clearly lacks control. The warrior decides to train him. He says before striking, "You must anger your opponent to distract them," telling him not to tickle lightly. The training ends. The warrior tells him to sleep. Tomorrow, they must travel all day to find Oripa. The next day, they set out. They walk for hours, until they reach a forest and spot Oripa's group. The warrior draws their attention and leads them into a clearing to fight. He tells HNGI to hide while he handles it alone. The warrior advances, while Oripa orders one man to find and kill HNGI. One by one, they charge the warrior, but are easily defeated. Oripa notices the scars on his legs and realizes he is the monster from legend who slaughtered his own tribe. An elite warrior steps forward to kill the living myth. He performs Ori intimidation gestures, but when he rushes in, the warrior slashes him repeatedly. Oripa and his men then swarm to attack. At the same time, the man chasing HNGI remembers the lesson. HNGI provokes him into losing focus. The warrior is surrounded and nearly falls, but HNGI rushes in and stabs his Tayaha into the attacker's back. The warrior is badly wounded. Another enemy prepares to strike HNGI, but HNGI throws dirt into his face. The warrior still rises despite his wounds and keeps fighting, terrifying Oripa and his men who think he is a monster. Oripa orders a retreat, but some remain to fight and are killed by HNGI and the warrior. The warrior is gravely wounded and thinks he will die, saying the ancestors has judged him. But HNGI refuses to let him die and bandages him. When the warrior wakes, HNGI says they must stop Oripa. The warrior says it is too late to catch him. But HNGI believes the ancestors can control this land and begs him to ask them to trap Oripa. He brings him hallucinogenic mushrooms to help him commune with the ancestors. The warrior hesitates at first, but eventually agrees because he himself wants to punish Oripa for trespassing on the dead land. Then HNG's grandmother's spirit appears, saying the ancestors demand revenge for Oripa's crimes. The next day, several of Oripa's men fall ill. They are frightened and regret taking this path. But Oripa declares their fear will not stop his ambition and continues leading them forward. Meanwhile, HNGI and the warrior continue hunting Oripa. Soon, they meet several female hunters in the area. One named Mihi asks where they are going. HNGI lies, saying they are searching for lost companions. Mihi says she saw no one pass, but from afar, she noticed the warrior is wounded. HNGI lies again, saying the man is his father, who fell from a height. Mihi smiles and invites them to stay overnight to rest, and HNGI thanks her. However, the warrior objects. He suggests killing the hunters or fleeing, but HNGI refuses since they are not enemies. Later, Mihi asks HNGI why he seems sad. He says he misses his loved ones. The answer makes her suspect the warrior is not his father. She then approaches the man and says she knows they are lying. She tries to seduce him to learn the truth. When she touches his leg, she finds scars. The scars prove he is the one who slaughtered his tribe. Mihi realizes in horror she faces the legendary monster and flees. That night, HNGI dreams of Oripa, saying he and his tribe will vanish. He jolts awake and goes to find the warrior. He finds that the man has killed most of the women and is fighting Mihi. She fights skillfully, even knocking him down once. But he rises from the water with ruthless eyes, blocks her, lifts her, and kills her. HNGI runs over and is enraged by the sight. When he asks why he did it, the warrior says she learned he is only human. If she told others, they would stop fearing him and enter his domain. He reminds him he never claimed to be a good man. So they must leave immediately, without stopping. HNGI now sees him as a true monster. But the warrior says he no longer lives by any human code. His father once ordered him to kill his own family to prove loyalty. Broken and stripped of faith 30100 15 27 26600 in one night and lived alone ever since. That is why people fear him. For no one has done anything so horrific. HNGI carries Mihi's body into the forest. At that moment his grandmother's spirit appears again. He says Oripa has escaped once more. But he will not give up. She again urges him to avenge his father before vanishing. The next morning, the warrior calls HNGI to see something. He points out a fortress atop the mountain, where Oripa and his men are sheltering. One man lights a fire, and Oripa says that was foolish, because the warrior will now know their position. A man in the group insults Oripa, saying he led them into cursed land while starving. Oripa knocks him down and beats him savagely, but Ranji intervenes. They have no time to argue. They must flee before the warrior arrives. As they prepare to leave, HNGI kills one of Oripa's men, and the others rush back into the fortress to block the entrance. The warrior and HNGI pursue and challenge them to come out and fight like real men. Oripa pulls Tini's head from a bag to taunt HNGI. He spits on it, enraging HNGI. The warrior restrains him, saying they will return later. Mana begins complaining that they have not eaten all day and will die here. He desperately blames Oripa's reckless ambition. Oripa tries to kill him, but Ranji stops him. Mana insults Oripa again, saying he is nothing like his respected father. Oripa kills him without hesitation. Blood spurts from Mana's neck, and Oripa says they can drink his blood to survive. Shortly afterward, Ranji finds ancient weapons inside the fortress, left by the ancestors of this land, especially shark tooth swords. At the same time, the warrior crafts smoke grenades and throws them inside. The enemies hurl spears back, but hit nothing. HNGI and the warrior retreat. Oripa orders his men to flee. They hear a noise and turn to see the gate open as the men run into the forest. HNGI spots Tini's head, mounted on a stake, and goes back inside. It is Oripa's trap to lure him in. When HNGI enters, Ranji shuts the gate. Though trapped, HNGI stays calm and prepares to fight, but two skilled warriors surround him, making it hard to resist. Meanwhile, Oripa's remaining men hide beneath piles of leaves, and one of them stabs the warrior. But the wound is not fatal. The warrior pulls the weapon free and counterattacks. He kills both and rushes back to help HNGI. He climbs the wall and challenges Ranji to a duel. HNGI is still fighting, while Ranji decides to face the warrior himself to avenge his earlier defeat from before. The warrior is wounded, and Ranji quickly gains the upper hand, driving him to exhaustion. He pins him against the wall and orders him to pick up his weapon for an honorable death. The warrior retrieves it and refuses to yield. This surprises Ranji and creates an opening. He is forced back into the wall. The warrior kills Ranji and rushes to help HNGI. The young man proves his worth, having learned to fight throughout the journey. But he is still not strong enough to defeat Oripa. The warrior appears and distracts Oripa. Then Issa, the demon, rises and kills him. And only then does he realize Issa is just a man. Oripa returns to finish HNGI, but this time, HNGI has the advantage and prepares to kill his greatest enemy. Oripa wants nothing more than to die now, for dying in battle would make him remembered as a great warrior, sung about by his tribe in epic tales. But HNGI refuses to grant him that honor. He spares him and says his father and tribe will owe HNGI forever. He forces Oripa to swear to leave this land, then lets him go in shame. HNGI returns to the warrior, who is gravely wounded and near death. The warrior asks him to let him go, and confesses the ancestors will not accept him into the afterlife. Even though he helped HNGI succeed, he has not been forgiven for his sins. HNGI then claims the warrior as part of his own tribe, so that his ancestors may guide him into eternity. The film ends with his grandmother proud, as HNGI stands at a cliff's edge and begins his journey home.